All right. Well, good evening. My name is Brittany Francis, and on behalf of the person that invited you tonight, I want to say welcome. Welcome to what we truly believe to be the most prolific regenerative technology of our lifetime. Now, 16 months ago, my husband and I were introduced to this technology, and we had no idea that it was about to change the entire trajectory of our life and every single person's life that we love. So my prayer is by the end of this call, if you were asked the question, have you been patched yet? And you had no idea, at the end of this call, you're going to give an overwhelming yes because of the excitement of what is about to happen for you. Now, this is not a normal disclaimer. This technology actually activates your stem cells. So this is not saying it's not going to or it might work for you. This technology works on everybody, on everything, every single time, given enough time. But what we do want you to understand is that this technology does not heal or cure people. What it does is it simply activates the body to do what the body was actually created to do, which is a function at its optimal level. So please understand that your testimony is going to be completely different than the testimony of the person that invited you to this because all of our bodies are completely different. Now, why the X39 stem cell activation technology? Why are we here this evening? By the time we're 30, half of our stem cells go dormant, and we're going to talk about stem cells tonight and their importance. By the time we're 60, 90% of them are dormant. Now, the fewer stem cells you have, the faster you age and the slower you heal. Now, stem cells are a hot topic, aren't they? For thousands of dollars, you can go and get them injected, hoping that they actually heal the portion of your body that you're needing to get injected, right? Well, this actually activates your stem cells. So it's going to be completely different than putting somebody else's stem cells inside you. Okay. So, what are stem cells? Why are they so important? Now, when you look at a child and they fall, what do? They have the ability to get right back up. Why? Because they have high regeneration. Okay. They're just a walking stem cell. Okay. Now, as we age, that's when you begin to see your slower healing, your increased inflammation, all the way to your joint pain, the wrinkles. Why? Your stem cells are dormant. They're not dead. And we're not taught that. Now, what are stem cells? Stem cells are actually the master building block of the entire body. It is their job to naturally repair and naturally renew the body. And they're found throughout various tissues and organs. So, what is their importance? As they are woken up, they actually have the ability and they actually look at your body and begin to fix whatever is broken in your body. Now, let's say that you were to go into your kitchen and burn your hand on your stove. What do your stem cells have the ability to do? They have the ability, because they're called undifferentiated cells, to travel through the body and triage, which means go and fix whatever is broken in the body. So if my hand is burned, they can actually travel and fix, turning into skin cells, nerve cells, whatever is necessary of whatever was damaged. So begin to think about your body from nerve cells, cardiac cells, all the way to muscle cells to kidney. It doesn't matter, all the way to joints. It does not matter. Your stem cells have the ability to turn into whatever your body is needing for it to heal. Okay. So from inflammation inside the body, all the way to regenerating whatever has been broken, all the way to fighting viruses, your stem cells are absolutely incredibly important. And they are what energize you, right? They're what keeps you going during the day. So absolutely incredibly brilliant. Now let's bring in some validity before we bring on some testimonies. Okay. Now, David Schmidt is the founder and the inventor of the X39. Now, he used to be contracted by the government to do defense weaponry. Over 20 years ago, they came to him and they said, look, we have an issue. Our Navy SEALs are actually hooked on amphetamines, and we need you to come up with something that the Navy SEALs could use that would keep them awake for 24 to 36 hours straight, ready for combat. But there's one key, David. They cannot put anything inside their body, no supplement. So he went to work. Being the inventor that he was, he's now has over 200 patents. He actually began to look at the body. And because he couldn't put anything inside the body, he began to look at the body and the chemical reactions that the body would have. And he specifically looked at light. Now, all the way back to ancient Greece, there were different colored frequencies that the body would actually have a chemical reaction. He began to dig deep into this, and he looked at all the scientists before him that had looked at light therapy, and he realized he was onto something incredibly brilliant. See, living cells, we actually emit light, okay? They're called biophotons. Deeper, a human actually emits off of its body, off of our bodies, between 1 to 2 centimeters, a prism of light. So he began to look at all the different prisms of light frequency that we had, and he found that there was actually a red light. And when that red light was reflected back into the body produced adrenaline. Ladies and gentlemen, the first ever photobiomodulation technology over 20 years ago that David Schmidt created, the energy enhancer. Now, our Navy SEALs use this. It absolutely worked. So what ended up happening? Stanford University got wind of it, and they began to look at it and use it on their swimmers, their athletes. Michael Phelps got wind of it. He used it in the Olympics, and then the history goes on from there. So he knew he was on to something incredibly brilliant. We emit frequencies of light. What would happen if he would actually find the different colors of frequencies and reflect those back in the body? So he began to go to work. He found different frequencies of light that when reflected back, the body would have different chemical reactions. One technology, actually, the body would elevate melatonin. Another one, the body would elevate glutathione. But he knew that there was something that he could go into that would be so incredibly brilliant that it would change the world. He did it. He found a specific frequency of light. After 10 years and $4.5 million of research, he found it. The X39 is this right here, a photobiomodulation technology, a wearable phototherapy apparatus that reflects a frequency of light back into the body, and the body elevates what is called a GHKCU peptide, which in turn wakes up stem cells. Ladies and gentlemen, the first ever stem cell waking technology, okay? The X39. Now, I mentioned earlier that the body actually elevates what is called a GHKCU peptide. Now, synthetically, people were trying to really put this inside the body. Well, what ends up happening? If it's not your own, sometimes the body just processes it, right? Well, the elevation of this GHKCU peptide, which is known as like the holy grail of healing, this technology, as it's elevated, what they found through all these different studies of the GHKCU peptide is not only the skin and the hair begins to get better, but the stem cells wake up. This technology does all of what you're seeing. Incredible miracles begin to happen. So it's a proprietary form of phototherapy. It reflects the frequency of light back into the body, and the body elevates the GHKCU peptide. Well, when we are to go into the sun actually activates our body, and our body produces vitamin D. So very, very similar, okay? So it's a reflection of frequency. And inside this patch, it's actually a specific mirror image that when grinded down with amino salt sugars crystals, it catches a specific frequency of light. It's non-dermal, non-transferable, does not put anything in the body, does not get in the way of any medications. I had what is called Hashimoto's, which was actually a thyroid condition. And using this technology, 46 days into it, I went to the doctor because something felt weird. The doctor called me 3 days later after taking my blood work, and he called me, he said, Brittany, you've got to stop doubling up your medication. Now, if you know me, that's not rare. I always want to make myself feel better, so more is better, right? Well, actually, I was not doubling up my medication. He said that's scientifically impossible. I began to tell him what I was doing using this technology, and he was floored, and he took me off the medication. So it doesn't get in the way of medication, but just be prepared that your body is going to heal itself. Now, within the first few days, 4,000 genes begin to reset. That's a fifth of your genes that begin to reset and go back to the way they were before they were damaged. And then within 6 weeks, the brain becomes balanced. So PTSD, anxiety, depression, memory loss, the list goes on and on and on. My grandmother was actually diagnosed with dementia last January, and it took me about 4 months for me to talk my family into using this technology for her. But once she did, it was brilliant. She began to remember my children's names, their birthdays, what they like to do, what they don't like to do, and if I called her back. So absolutely amazing. And then for those special needs children, incredible. For our veterans, incredible. There's a reason why our Navy SEALs use this technology, guys. So amazing. And then within 3 months, the collagen is increased. Now, you might be thinking of wrinkles. You are correct. Wrinkles will begin to go away, but that's not the main focus of collagen. It's actually the matrix of your body. So instead of going and taking collagen, hoping that a portion of it is accepted by your body actually produces its own collagen. And then within 6 months, the cardiovascular age of the heart actually reverses. April 19th of last year, my father-in-law came into town to say goodbye to my children because he was diagnosed with a heart condition and a kidney condition. Now, we had used this technology for about 90 days, and I knew that it was amazing, but you know, we didn't know how amazing. So what we did was we began to start telling him about it. And I looked at him and I said, if you're going to stay with us for the next 2.5 weeks, you will patch. So he did. Now he began to have a little bit more energy, but interestingly enough, wasn't that much. Well, 4.5 months later, we received a video from my mother-in-law in Spain. My father-in-law was dancing. He went from being on a cane and in a wheelchair to dancing. The cardiovascular age of his heart absolutely reversed. It's absolutely incredibly brilliant. This is one of the latest clinical studies that actually shows that the body, if you use this technology for longer than 6 months, that once the body begins to heal itself, all these different things, what ends up happening? Okay. You actually reverse an age by an average of 8.5 years. Incredibly brilliant. So this is a topography map of a 77-year-old woman's brain. This shows what ended up happening to my grandmother, right? Inflammation in the brain. Now, 6 weeks later, take a look when those stem cells triage the brain. Absolutely incredibly brilliant. Complete turnaround. Okay. Absolutely amazing. So the X39 is so sophisticated, yet very simple to explain. That technology right there in the size of a quarter will flex a frequency of light. And in response, the body elevates a GHKCU peptide, which in turn wakes up stem cells. Now, I want to bring on a couple of testimonies tonight, and I want to start with Andrea. Andrea, if you could unmute yourself and please quickly share your testimony of what has happened for you.
Yes, thanks so much for having me. My name is Andrea Grady. I'm from Texas, a little town called Taylor, right outside of Austin. And I've been on the technology for 6 weeks now. But I was blown away because after 3 days on the patch, I actually started my period. And during that time of the month, I am like, get out of my way, crouched over, everything hurts, and I just felt nothing. I had no symptoms, no cramps, no irritability, like for the whole week. Like I couldn't believe it. I thought, I'm not going to lie, I thought it was a fluke. And so I didn't even tell Katai that what had happened. I had briefly told her, but not really, because I was like, I don't know if this is in my head. But 4 weeks or 3 weeks later, when it was that time again, the same thing, no symptoms, no irritability. I was happy. I was still going to the gym. I'm a gym rat. I like to go every morning. And so I was blown away. And so finally I told Kata, I was like, this stuff works. I can't believe it. But I just was blown away. It's been such a blessing to my family. My husband, he's on it too. I make him try all the things. And so he was just like another thing. And I was like, you don't have to ingest it. You just wear this patch every morning when you brush your teeth. And I didn't know that he had actually like kind of tore his what is it, rotator cuff.
Yep.
And he hadn't been doing push-ups for over a year. And I didn't know this. And so 3 weeks on the patches, he started doing push-ups again. He came to me and he was like, I was able to do 25 push-ups. And he was blown away. So he's a believer. One last one. I know I don't have much time, but my son, I'm sorry, my
I
whole
love
family,
it. Keep going.
my son, he'll be 15 next week, and his ear was bothering him. We went to his pediatrician. He failed the hearing test. They said, I don't know. They're like, we don't know what's going on. They cleaned it out. And I asked the doctor, what can we do? He was like, I have to send you to a specialist. I have to send you to an ENT so they can dig deeper in there. And I said, well, what else can they do? He was like, they have great hearing aids now. And I said, he's 14. Okay, we walk out of there and he's like, Mom, I don't want, and I said, don't even say that. We speak it against it in the name of Jesus, and you will start wearing patches today. I put a patch right behind his ear for 4 days. After the first day, he came to me and told me, Mom, the pressure's gone. I can hear a little bit. I hear whispers now. 3 days later, we went to the ENT and he was fine. The doctor was like, I don't even know. He just cleaned out the little bit of wax, completely perfect, 100% passed his hearing test. I believe it. I am sold. It has been such a blessing to my family, and I just want to say thank you so much for introducing me. And it's only been 6 weeks, so I can't even imagine what's going to happen from now on. So thank you so much for having me.
That is amazing. I love it. All right, that is fantastic. Next, we are going to have Brittany. Brittany Robinson, if you could unmute yourself, that would be great.
Hi, yes, we're Kirk and Brittany Robinson in Houston. I think let's see, we started patching the first week of January of this year. So we've been on them for several months now. We are super excited because before I think energy was our biggest thing. We were just so extremely exhausted all the time, it seemed like. And granted, we have 3 kids and we work a lot. We're always busy. So, you know, but at our age, we were like, what's going on? So we started patching, and we also patched our oldest son as well with us. So because it's drug-free, stimulant-free, we felt really comfortable with that. So um, to day 2, I noticed my energy increased dramatically. I was like, what is going on? And then my mental clarity started showing up. My focus was amazing. I sleep great. Kirk actually sleeps better than he ever has. He used to get up 3 or 4 times in the night to use the restroom. Now he doesn't. He has always struggled with inflammation too in his body. And by a week and a half into patching, he lost 15 pounds of inflammation in his body. And it was incredible, the difference that he felt and saw in the mirror. And then our son, we had heard that vision improvement was a really common benefit. And we were like, well, let's give it a try. Let's see what happens. So we patched him when we started patching. And 4 weeks in, he went from a 20/40 to a 20/30. And this is the eye that has an astigmatism. And it was in that eye that his vision improved so greatly in 4 weeks. So we were just over the moon thankful to have been introduced to this. And we're so excited. We don't miss a day of patching.
I love it. Thank you so much, Brittany. That is amazing. We're so excited. We are just loving the children's stories. Just two stories about children on top of the adults, right? And now, next, we are going to have someone that is actually near and dear to my heart, who's actually a stem cell expert. Megan, if you could please jump on and please share your testimony, and then I am going to ask you a couple of questions.
Hello, Brittany. Can you see me?
We sure can.
Okay, great, because I'm in my car. Well, good evening, everyone. And basically, I have been working in regenerative stem cell, the perinatal, as Brittany spoke about. And one of the things I want to share, Brittany, is your presentation was the best I've ever heard, ever. It was fabulous. Because it crystallizes really the differential. But I had a bone-on-bone and meniscus tear, and in 2018, so long before X39 came out, I had an injection of the perinatal, its birth product, and I had a very positive response to it. And I did own and do own a medical wellness clinic. And so I then brought it into my clinic. But then I was introduced to LifeWave in 21 and started using it personally and then introducing it to my patients for post-care. But what's most important for you guys to understand is that, as Brittany said, perinatal it's very effective if, and this is the operative word, if it goes to the area that needs that regeneration. Therefore, when you look at LifeWave, it is activating, it's waking up your own stem cells. So it is in your body and it is creating that differential. And I love the word you use, which is triage, and it is triaging the area that needs that regeneration. So my personal experience, now I have a hat on, I wear a hat often because I'm an esthetician and protecting from my skin from the Texas sun. But I am going to be 75 August 12th. And the truth of the matter is that I started using the LifeWave X39 in May of 21. And my hair had been thinning and thinning and thinning. I have fine hair anyway, but I had this huge bald patch up in the crown of my head. And so I'm going to be very transparent here. Because I had no support, zero, I was winging it myself. And so in 23, 24, I kind of was very sporadic in usage until I met Brittany and switched groups. I really wasn't under anyone, so it really was easy to do that. So the point is, I want you guys to understand how blessed we are to be with Brittany and Rick and the team with Danny and Diane and so forth. It makes such a difference, guys, in building your business. So my hair now is very thick for fine hair, but there's no bald patches. Um, my sleep, I was really sporadic in sleep. And I couldn't believe one morning I woke up and I said, oh my God, I slept through the night like a baby, you know? And the energy piece, as the young lady said, it's very even. So this is really a balanced structure, not an up and down. It is that homeostasis in one's body. So all of my patients that I have introduced LifeWave to, I'm saying all, continue to use their LifeWave. They wouldn't be without it. They may not have more perinatal, but they won't live without their their X39 and the myriad of all of the other patches. So, I mean, I could go on and on about their testimonies, but I just want to stress how thankful I am to be with you, Brittany and Rick, and everyone else.
That was just so awesome. So, this is the piece that I want everyone to hear is that we do have somebody on here that has an extensive background on stem cells. So understanding that, when I was talking to Megan about it, she said, Brittany, you don't understand how important stem cells are. Megan, you already covered everything, so I don't need to ask you any questions. But she explained to me the importance of stem cells, and I realized that because of this is why we use this technology. Thank you so much, Miss Megan. So
Thank you.
everything from hair to vision, it does not matter, right? Like Megan said, they're undifferentiated cells. So take a look at this football injury. This is my son's clavicle. It broke on the bottom. Now this is 1 week later, ladies and gentlemen. Take a look. Okay. Why? Because the stem cells chose and they selected what needed to be fixed and fixed first, second, third, correct? And then there's the mass. This little boy right here, take a look at what ended up happening with his leg. He actually had a mass, and his mom called me and she said, Brittany, I need you to pray. And I said, I will pray, but you need to patch. So take a look at that. All right. And then A1C issues to acne issues. It didn't matter. All the way to horses. Now, what we need to understand is that even horses have stem cells, right? And so this technology activates those cells. So from the horseback rider to the horse to the bull in the rodeo, this technology is used widely. Now, all the way from knee issues to macular degeneration to special needs children, all the way to back issues and sciatica issues. This is our miracle inbox. Why? Because people get miracles every single day. From One Patch Wonders, which this lady right here was hurting for 18 months, one day no longer hurting. to this lady right here, one of our newest miracles, who just told us that they were able to cancel a complete gallbladder surgery because her gallbladder had fixed itself. It doesn't matter, ladies and gentlemen, for everybody on everything, every single time, given enough time. Now, CPAP machine. My husband didn't love me enough to get one, but the miracle is that he did stop snoring after 3 days. Okay. So the inflammation inside the body, that's where snoring happens, right? So the body will fix that all the way to a spot on the shoulder that needs to be fixed because it needs to be surgically cut off. Eczema, Parkinson's, arthritis, psoriasis. It doesn't matter, ladies and gentlemen, whatever it is. And then this is a testimony of a little boy who actually had autism. He lost his ability to speak, and after a few weeks on the X39 is now verbal and speaking. Wound healing. Okay, if you have a diabetic wound, it has to heal from the inside out, not the outside in, all the way to if you need a triaging because you get into a car wreck or you hurt yourself. Okay, it doesn't matter. So the benefits are unending, from increased strength, mental clarity, long COVID issues. It doesn't matter. The body will fix what the body needs to fix. Now, because we live in Houston, Texas, I do always talk about the X49 quickly. The X39, everybody needs. That's it. But we do have quite a few professional athletes that do use the X39 and the X49 together. So if you are an athlete, the X39 helps you heal, but the X39 actually helps you elevate your ability to perform while your heart rate stays at a good level. So this technology is incredibly brilliant if you're an athlete or if you're looking at fat loss. Okay, so where you're going to put the X39, you're going to put it where you need it. Okay, so if you have a shoulder injury, put it on your shoulder. For patent purposes, there are over 70 patents on this technology. You're going to put it where you need it. But for patent purposes, the back of the neck to the most open point of the brain, or underneath the belly button for the most open point to the gut. Okay, and you're going to wear the technology 12 hours a day. Okay, because remember, it's your body that's doing the work. It's activating your body. And then you want to stay hydrated with electrolytes, okay? So this technology is incredibly brilliant. You want to make sure that you use it 12 hours a day. Take it off. It's activated as soon as you put it on your body. You can take it off, put it on your dog. After 16 to 20 hours, that mirror breaks down because of the heat frequency. You can throw it away, rest, and put a new patch on the next day. Now, 70% of people feel a miracle between 5 minutes and 5 days. 97% of people feel a miracle within 90 days. So ensure that you use this technology as long as you're going to need it, okay? Now, please lean into this, and then I'm going to open it up for questions. Now, my husband and I jumped into this 16 months ago, and this is incredibly important. I can promise you, you will remember this for the rest of your life. We looked into this because we were actually looking for a business. I didn't know that my husband was actually no longer going to be bleeding internally. I didn't know that my special needs daughter was going to actually be able to go and be put in driving school. Okay. I didn't know it was going to change their life. I just knew that we were looking for a business that everybody needed. And this was it. And we looked at who was at the top, and David Schmidt is incredibly brilliant, as you're about to see. And we wanted something that was duplicatable. What you're seeing is duplication. See, when you know that there's somebody that you love, you can plug them into a Zoom like this and give them hope that there's something that is out there to help them change, to help them change their future. Okay. And then for us also, we wanted to ensure that we could maybe one day get out of the car business. And sure enough, this delivered. This has blown our minds. Now, LifeWave, something to look into, okay, and look at is it's not only a 20-year-old company, but we went from a $20 million company to a $600 million company in 4.5 years. What changed? The X39. When this was brought to market, they said everybody knows and loves so many people that desperately need this, and miracles need to happen. Rick and I realized that it very quickly took us out of the red ocean industry into a blue ocean industry, a hook in the water, a wide open ocean to help so many people that desperately needed this. It was the right company, the right leadership, the right systems, and the right timing. Now lean into this, ladies and gentlemen. The right timing. Do you ever sit there and go, gosh, I wish I would have? This is that moment. See, what you're looking at is the future of the world, the future of household technology. How many people desperately need this? From a patented superior energy source that's coming to a technology that actually infuses a light frequency where the body can actually heal itself in 15 seconds. Absolutely brilliant. My husband and I looked at this and we said, my gosh, this is the right timing. This is everything. Now, I mentioned earlier how incredible David Schmidt was. Now, lean into this. There's actually a documentary that's going to be released at the end of this year. Remember, it's all about timing. Let There Be Light. This gentleman, this producer, actually found this technology. His wife put it on him, and he felt unbelievable. So he actually found David Schmidt, and he interviewed him, and he realized what this technology was. He realized that the X39 is changing lives all over. Now, with this, Rick and I were looking at different franchises, and we were floored when we looked at LifeWave because we were looking at a Freddy's, we were looking at a 9 rounds kickboxing, and we were not going to invest franchise and all the investments that were needed. But then we looked at LifeWave, and LifeWave did something that was incredibly brilliant. I can promise you it's probably like nothing you have ever seen. Now, what they said was everybody loves people. They all love people. But they also probably, most people need a miracle. What if they were to be able to wear it and share it? So they created this incredible business opportunity that came with this, that if somebody decided to share it, they would ensure that they compensated well. What they did was they created this to be a binary. So if you were introduced to this tonight by somebody and you were to say, you know what, I know I need this technology, you actually can get a spot by just using the technology. And anybody that joins after you falls underneath you in volume. So you can not only earn from people if there are other franchises that grow from you and people that share underneath you, but also you can earn from the people above you. It was absolutely an incredible business model. We were so impressed by it. And then we looked at the way LifeWave wove into this beautiful compensation plan, from introductory bonuses to upgrading bonuses, all the way to earning from all the different franchises and the binary commissions and incentive trips. And right now we're right in the middle of an incentive trip that if you love to travel and you know that you want to change thousands of lives, it's a perfect opportunity to jump in. And so you can travel the world with us. Now, I mentioned earlier duplication. Now, you've heard tons of testimonies tonight, but what about those that you're like, well, what about neuropathy? What about stroke? What about mental clarity? What about the answers? Yes. And duplication is incredibly important. So this is at info.com. Screenshot this. You can actually tap into the different testimonies of this is at info.com, and you can actually tell somebody, let's say that your mom, you're like, Mom, you need to hear about this, dental improvement, whatever it is, you need to hear about it. And you send her a testimony. It shows her how incredible this will be for her, right? So incredibly brilliant. And then what you're seeing is duplication, Zooms. So you can actually say, you know what? There is something that you have to hear about. So just right after this, if you say, oh my gosh, there are so many people that need to know about this, in 30 minutes, there's another opportunity that you can actually plug somebody in. You can call them right now and say, you've got to jump on this. This is going to change your life. And you can transfer that hope. So the duplication is incredibly important. And you get that with this. Now, I heard a story, and then I'm going to open it up for questions, but this story blessed me. This man, he actually, there was water that was rising inside of his home. And as the water was rising, he asked God, he said, God, please save me. And God said, I got you. So he had to get on the top of his roof. And as the water kept rising, a canoe came by. And he looked at the man in the canoe. He's a super faithful man. He said, no, thank you. God's got me. God's going to save me. So as the water rose to his hips, he looked at God. He said, God, are you going to save me? He said, I got you. So a boat came by. As the boat came by, he looked at the man in the boat. He said, no, thank you. God's got me. Well, as the water came to about right here, a helicopter came. And as the helicopter came, he looked at the man in the helicopter. He said, nope, God's got me. Well, he died. He went to heaven. He looked at God and he said, God, why didn't you save me? And he said, I sent you a canoe, a boat, and a helicopter. What else did you want? See, what you're reading is one of our newest testimonies. My friend Anita See, Natalie is her daughter, and she actually texted me and she said, this just changed our life. Her mother was in 50% kidney failure. Her kidneys were functioning at 50%. She used this technology for 4 weeks, and her kidneys are now 85%. This was her helicopter. See, Rick and I looked at this and we said, do you know how many people we can impact with this technology? You can impact with this technology. People are praying for a canoe, a boat, and a helicopter. They're praying for it, whether it be financial or health-wise. And we can bless people, everyone. So there are 4 ways to get started. You want to get back to the person that invited you. You can do retail, which I don't suggest, which is $150 for 1 month worth of the technology. You can become a preferred customer if you say, I'm never going to share this with anybody, for $99 a month, or you can actually be a brand partner. Now, this is really exciting. Remember earlier I said you can get a spot in the organization. Even if you choose not to share this right away, you have a spot, and anybody that joins after you, the volume falls underneath you. So if you decide one day, you know what, there are too many people that I know that need this, you can activate that immediately and begin to share. So you want to get back to the person that invited you. You can do the core, which is just to see if it's right for you. You can do advanced, which actually gives you 6 months of this technology. And you can actually mix and match. So the brand partner that gets back with you, or you get back with, there's actually what is called Ice Wave, which blocks the pain that you have immediately within 5 to 10 seconds of applying it. So you can actually mix and match, but 6 months of the technology. So you can actually loan a sleeve to somebody, and while they're waiting for their sleeve to come in, if you choose to share it, they can give you one back. And this, the advanced or the premium, opens up that entire compensation. All right. And then the premium. The premium is what my husband and I did because we knew so many people that desperately needed this technology. So with that, you want to get back to the person that invited you to this and say, yes, get a spot and say yes, and watch what God does through this